Okay, so I was around 11 or 12 years old when this happened. I was living in the deep south. I got home from school and I was walking down a long-ass driveway. I then changed into my hunting clothes. I get to my hunting blind at about 4 p.m. It's getting pretty late on. I can barely see. The sun is setting. I'm getting pretty bored and hungry, so I'm ready to head back home. Suddenly, a wild deer approaches. I've got the thing pretty cleanly in my sights. I get a shot out. I manage to hit the deer center mass. It still runs away though. I decide I will get down and go and look for it alone. I think to myself, I have a gun. I will be fine. I have been walking for about 20 minutes looking for this deer and I found nothing. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? How could it still be walking around for that long with that much damage? I was heading back up to the point where the trail meets the field. This is where things start to feel really spooky. I see the head of a deer mounted on a stick hit the trailhead. When I see this, I instantly sprint in the other direction. I'm just terrified seeing this thing. I am almost to the point where the trail splits towards my house. I am completely out of breath. I'm too freaked out to even try to scream. I can only make little noises. As I close on the fork in the trail, I see something. It has a human-shaped body, but long arms and no neck. I shoot that creature in the damn head. At that point, I don't know if I missed or if my gun just did nothing. It was way too dark to tell. It starts slowly walking towards me. I get the hell out of there. I cut through the woods towards my house because the deer head is the other way. As I am moving through the thick-ass woods, I can hear that thing following me. I drop my gun so I can run even faster. I finally get in the house and I get to my brother and I tell him everything. He tells me I just saw something and that I need to go back outside and get my gun. I refuse to go back out there and get it without him. I finally get him outside and to the deer head. The thing is still there. My brother takes my hand and runs straight to the house. Everyone else was gone. It was just us there. We both stayed awake the whole night just talking about it. To this day, I don't know who or what did that to the deer or what that other thing even was. Okay, so this just happened to me just the other day. This is not a paranormal story. So I go jogging every other day. I've been doing it for around 6 years. It's just a really easy way to keep in shape and it makes me feel good. Because of this jogging, I know every single inch of my neighborhood, every single car, every single family. I spot a truck I've never seen before. It's this older red truck. There is a guy slouched in the driver's seat, like he's trying to keep out of view of someone. My spidey sense starts tingling, and I just get a really bad feeling about the guy and his intentions. I decide that I will circle back around. As I do, I see a young girl walking her dog past the red truck. The driver now has his window completely down and open. He seems to be taking pictures of her. He notices me coming after I've already caught him in the act. He gives me a nasty look. I pass him by. I slow my jog and just pretend to stretch. Then I very slowly walk past the girl. I tried to casually warn her that there is a weirdo taking pictures of her and to not look back behind her. She immediately looks back behind her. The guy glares at me. He starts his truck up and then he pulls away. I jog for another half an hour or so. Then I notice that there is a white van following me. The driver is some fat dude with mutton chops. The passenger looks almost exactly like the dude that I caught creeping on that girl. As soon as I notice them, the van turns down a different street. I eventually go home. A few days pass by after all of this happened. I'm visiting a coffee shop near my house. The barista is unusually quiet. Later, her boss comes in. They start talking. I'm kind of eavesdropping a little, but they weren't exactly talking quietly, so it's not like I was trying to do it on purpose. It turns out that one of the other baristas is missing, a 20-year-old girl. Apparently, some dude came in and chatted her up. She left with him after her shift. They are discussing this, and they drop a description of the dude. It matches the description of the creeper that I saw. I asked them if they saw the kind of car that he drove. It was apparently an older red truck. Then, the barista mentions, I also noticed some guy in a white van just chilling in a parking lot, but he never came inside. The dude was fat, with mutton chops. He left around the same time the other barista left with the other dude. She has not been seen since then. Her phone is apparently off, so they have no way to track her. It makes me feel sick to my stomach just to think about. I had an uncle. He was my dad's oldest brother. He was already pretty old when I was a kid, and he died before I even finished middle school. I think he was kind of a fuck-up, because he lived with us for quite a while. My dad mentioned once that he somehow lost his house. Anyway, my uncle used to help my parents put me to bed by reading me scary stories out of this huge book. He claimed that it was his journal, and that all of the stories were all true. I still remember a few, and I may as well share them, because I love sharing these stories, even if I know they're probably not true. But, just imagine you were 9 years old, just like I was, and you were shitting your pants as your uncle reads these. My uncle worked up north for a few years on a ranch. It was seasonal work, spring through summer usually. Sometimes on some years he would work less. Some years he would work much more, but he was always gone by fall. Every spring he would return and find that the rancher's house had lots of damage. The two of them would fix it up, and then my uncle would stick around and help him around the ranch. One spring, he came back and the rancher actually had a broken leg. The rancher said he fell off of the roof trying to fix it. He notices that the house looks especially bad this year. It had a huge wraparound front porch, but it's been practically demolished. The rancher says a tree fell onto it and broke it. There were no trees anywhere near the house. The rancher is out of commission due to the broken leg, so my uncle has to repair the porch all by himself. Time passes, and the rancher eventually heals. One morning, my uncle is helping around the ranch while the rancher goes off hunting. Everything is completely and totally fine, until the uncle spots the rancher heading out of the woods. He is walking backwards with a shotgun raised, aimed at the trees. My uncle immediately thinks, oh crap, it must be a mountain lion. He runs to his truck where his gun is. He grabs the gun and rushes towards the rancher. As he is rushing over, he notes something really bizarre. The grass is tall in that area, and it seems to be bending like there is a wild breeze, only there isn't one. He realizes that the grass is bending from the tree line towards the rancher, like someone is walking through it. Only, there is nobody there. For some reason, this spooks my uncle so much that he starts yelling out like a damn barbarian. This startles the rancher, and he fires off a round. Immediately, the grass stands back up, like whatever was moving through it is now gone. The rancher then runs back towards the house and tells my uncle to come inside. My uncle asks him what the hell that was, and the rancher is shaking like a leaf, just saying, "It was a mountain lion. It was a mountain lion." My uncle thinks that this is bullshit, that there would have had to have been an invisible mountain lion when there was not an animal in sight, but the rancher looks really, really creeped out, so he drops it, and the two of them calm their nerves over some whiskey. My uncle passes the summer on the ranch. He's waiting for the rancher to offer some explanation about what he saw, but he never ever does. Before my uncle leaves that summer, the rancher gives him a bonus and tells him that he earned it. Fast forward quite some time. Fall and winter pass by. Next spring, my uncle returns to the ranch. He shows up, and there is a crew doing some repairs on the house. My uncle is really confused. He knocks on the door, and some young guy answers. He is even more confused. The uncle explains that he works there every single spring and summer, and mentions the rancher's name. The nephew explains that he is the rancher's nephew and that the old man passed away, unfortunately. My uncle is really sad. He asked the nephew what happened. The nephew just shakes his head. We don't know, but it looked like a mountain lion might have gotten him. My uncle's blood suddenly runs cold. He recalls the weird event from the previous summer. "And the house?" he asks. The nephew just shakes his head once again. We don't know. That's it. The way that my uncle said that last line always gave me the shivers. Just 12 years ago, I had moved up to the Ozarks in southern Missouri. I always loved the wilderness and made sure to get as secluded a place as possible. It was about a 30-minute drive to the nearest town, so needless to say, I was all alone. This still was not enough for me. Only a week after moving in, I decided to go on a grand adventure. I would grab my backpacking gear, my rifle, and enough supplies to last me 2 weeks, and I headed off into the unknown. My goal? To venture as deep into the Ozarks as humanly possible. I would come to wholeheartedly regret this later on. Despite being slowed down by brush and general wilderness, I was an avid backpacker, and I could travel nearly 20 miles a day. On the evening of day 2, I had set up my camp on a small ridge overlooking a forest. After starting a fire and eating my MRE, I decided to go to bed. It was only about 7 p.m., but I was exhausted after my day of hiking. As soon as I hit my sleeping bag, I passed out. I awoke around 6 hours later to an animal's howl. The thing would not shut up, no matter what, and I could not get back to sleep. I checked my watch. It was 10 minutes past 1. After about 5 minutes, I gave up trying to fall back asleep. This is when I focused on the animal's howl itself and realized something strange. I had no idea what this was. As previously mentioned, I was an avid backpacker, and I could recognize many different animal calls from all of my time in the woods. The thing sounded like an amalgamation of many different animal calls all at once. While laying there, I thought it sounded like a combination of a wolf's howl and an elk's bugle, with, strangely enough, something akin to a hyena's laugh mixed in the middle every once in a while. I was a bit spooked at this strange howl, but concluded that it was something only native to the Ozarks that I just had not heard before. After about an hour, it finally stopped, and I fell back asleep. The next day, I packed up my belongings and started hiking again. I had all but forgotten the strange howls from the night prior. Around 4:30 that afternoon, I decided to find a place to set up camp. I came across a clearing about 50 feet wide and 80 feet long. That's just a rough estimate, by the way, and decided that this would be a pretty fair place to camp. I took off my pack and started taking out my tent when I heard rustling in some brush about 40 feet away from me. I looked up, saw nothing of note, and then I quickly went back to what I was doing. Then I heard the howl from the night prior, with a particularly long hyena-like cackle at the end. I was pretty startled, so I looked up, and I saw a cat emerge out of the brush. The problem is, this cat was the size of a bear. It had these horn-like fangs and glowing red eyes. Its fur was black, and its build was really stocky. I was panicking, so I grabbed my rifle and fired all of my ammunition at the beast. I don't know if I even hit the thing with any, but if so, it did not care. It bounded across the field at a pace I had never seen before. When it got within an arm's length of me, I hit it with the butt of my rifle, dropped my rifle, and then I ran. I left everything behind, keeping only the clothes on my back. Terrified, I covered over 60 miles in that one night. I got back to my house, locked my door, and then I just collapsed onto the floor. After I awoke, I immediately got to work looking for a new house. I eventually moved to Connecticut. Screw the gear, I am never ever going back to the Ozarks. Okay, so at the time this happened, I was living in Hodgkins, Illinois. I was a very young child at the time, not even double digits in age. I was having these reoccurring dreams of a woman standing under my second-story bedroom window, beckoning me to jump into her arms. Somehow I unlock the window and I fall into her embrace. Her skin is unnaturally smooth, with the texture of silk and the smell of lavender. Her face is really blurred, as though it is in constant motion. There were definitely features underneath, but I could not really see anything. As my body lands in her arms, there are sirens in the distance. Not police, but tornado/foghorn sirens. She starts running out of the alleyway into the street. There is not anyone around aside from us, but the sirens are getting louder. She is holding me close, and she runs towards the train tracks that are directly behind the house. The picture that's on screen now, this is after a local industrial company built warehouses over the immediate wall of foliage. The road that crosses them leads to a dead end bordering a thick forest. After we cross the tracks, the sirens turn into voices. Tens of hundreds of different voices are screaming something incoherently at us as we move deeper into the woods. Each time I would have this dream, we would get further into the woods. I remember only once getting somewhere remarkable. A small mossy headstone with a headless angel somewhere unreasonably deep in the woods, far away from any cemeteries. Fast forward a few years, my cousins are living in the house now, and we have moved way further south. I ask my oldest cousin, who is 6 years my senior and has the room I stayed in when we lived in that house. I asked him if he has any weird dreams. He looks surprised and says he has a reoccurring dream about a lady knocking on the house door and asking if her baby is inside. Apparently, the woman somehow gets inside the house and is crying, but her face looks like when a VHS tape is being eaten by a VCR. The woman asks repeatedly where her baby has gone, before the sounds of sirens in the distance cause her to quickly flee the house. According to my cousin, the sirens are like in the old times when the bomber planes came. I ask if they remember where the woman had run off to, and he responds by pointing towards the tracks. We decided to go past the tracks to see if we could find anything. This was roughly between 2006 and 2008, before the warehouses in the previous post were developed, so the woods were still there in all of their glory. We don't find anything, just several scraps of clothing and a few headless baby dolls. We are starting to get a little bit spooked, but we keep looking around before we find something really strange. Sitting on a stump overlooking the tracks was a doll that was significantly older than the rest. It looked to have been from, at the earliest, the early 1930s. It too was headless, although we found what we believed to be the remains of its shattered head scattered around the stump. We are really freaking out at this point, so we decide to go back to the house and tell my aunt about what we found. As we are crossing the tracks, we hear it, crying. We hear fucking crying coming from right behind us in the woods. There was not anyone but us here just a minute ago, so we knew that there could not have been another person. My cousin starts to run, hauling ass back towards the house, but I am standing there, paralyzed with both fear and confusion. I slowly turn around to see that all of the dolls are now flipped to be standing on their necks, feet towards the sky. The oldest doll was no longer sitting on the stump. It was nowhere to be seen. I am shitting bricks by this point, and I start to run as fast as my little legs can carry me, screaming and crying the whole way. I looked back only once after I had crossed the threshold into the neighborhood to see the shape of someone standing on the tracks. It was the woman from the dream, standing with her back towards me, looking out towards the woods. It could not have been more than a few seconds before she began to make haste towards the tree line, quickly disappearing into the overgrowth. We make it back to the house, screaming and crying to my aunt about how there is a woman in the woods. She does not believe us when we tell her about the crying or about the woman I saw running into the woods. My aunt was convinced that we had seen a homeless person who was taking shelter there for the day. It isn't out of the question, especially for the area, but both my cousin and I remain completely unconvinced. To this day, neither of us are sure as to what exactly we saw. My cousin claims that the dreams stopped shortly after that experience, with the woman coming to the door in the last dream and saying, "I found my baby," before quickly fleeing back across the tracks. My cousin claims to still hear the sounds of a baby cooing from somewhere near the tracks, the few times that she had to pass them after dark. Okay, so I am a forest ranger for a large amount of dense wooded forest just north of the US border. It was around midday when this started. I had just signed on to my shift. I get a radio call for a 1049, which is a missing person in my area. They were last seen wearing a sweatshirt, hiking shorts, and a red backpack. They had been missing for 2 days now, and it was only just reported in. I mount up, fuel up, and head out into the area that he was last known to be in. I was cruising for about half an hour, and I decided it would be a good idea to start out on foot, as he would not be on any service roads. I notified dispatch to send an additional unit. I wait for around half an hour until backup arrives. He's a good guy that I really enjoy working with. We head up onto a trail that's known for people getting lost on, as about halfway up, it splits and goes further into the woods instead of curving around and heading back out towards the service area. We were hiking for around an hour, calling out the person's name, keeping an eye out for clues, etc. I wind around a bend, and I find the remnants of a campsite. I shout out for my partner and the missing gentleman. My partner does not come around the corner. I go back around the corner. My partner is not there. I come up on the radio. Anon, come in. Officer Anon, are you code 4? Nothing. Well, shit. I inspect the campsite. It's fairly recent, probably only around a week old, but there are no new footprints or indents in the mud surrounding the fire pit, except for animals. I decide to wait for my partner. He may have gotten lost. I try the radio once again. Officer Anon, this is Anon. Come in. Are you code 4? I am looking around in the trees, listening for any sounds at all out of the ordinary. I wait for around 45 minutes for my partner, while walking a little circle around the campsite. My partner does not show up, and now I'm a little bit worried. I go back around the bend in the trail, past the little rock outcropping. I head back the way that we came in, and I am looking for any sign of him. As I come up onto a hill, I hear footsteps up ahead of me, boots on the rocky path. I come up on the radio again. Officer Anon, are you code 4? There is still nothing on the radio, no reply, not even static, or even a hint that someone is trying to reply. I dart up ahead to get a good look at whoever is on the trail. I spot a red backpack on the guy. He seems to be walking a little bit funny, no swing of his arms. He's walking almost like a robot actually. I'm like, excuse me, sir, what's your name? I'm around 20 feet behind him by this point. Sir. He is still walking like a robot. Hey. He finally stops and turns around lightning fast. I'm like, are you the guy that we're looking for? And he just stares at me blankly for an uncomfortable amount of time. He doesn't even look like the gears are whirring inside of his head. He's just open mouth staring at me. Are you this person that we are looking for? He still does not speak, but just nods his head with his mouth hanging wide open. I tell him that we've been looking for him. I tell him that we should head back to the trailhead. After about 40 minutes, we reach the trailhead, and my vehicle and my partner's vehicle are still there. I tell him, now, I'm going to put you in the back of my truck. You're not under arrest. It's just so that you can relax and catch your breath. I try the radio one more time. Anon, are you out there, Anon? The radio suddenly crackles to life. This is Officer Anon. Yeah, I'm okay. I found the missing person. He's got a broken leg after falling off of a small cliff. I've patched him up and we're on our way back to the trailhead. Sorry for not responding. I was out of range. I got separated from you at one of the trail forks. What? Anon, I've got the missing hiker. He's in the back of my truck right now. There is only silence for around 2 minutes. I'm thinking the radio has stopped working again when I hear his voice once again. Anon, lock your truck and grab the 12 gauge from my Jeep. Why? Just do it, and don't let it out of your sight. Okay. I unlock his Jeep, grab the 12 gauge, and inspect it to see if there's a round in the chamber. I calmly walk over to my truck and peek in the window. There is nobody in my truck anymore, and the cage was bent to a severe angle with my driver's side door hanging open. Oh shit. I swing around the other side of my truck and peer into the cab. There is nothing there. I close the door and climb into the bed, sitting on the roof for an hour and a half in pants-shitting terror until my partner finally gets back with the injured hiker. He looks at me and he just said, "You let it get away?" What do you mean by it, Anon? I'll tell you later. I finally talked to my partner today, as we were both on the same service road and assigned to the same area. I asked him about that odd incident just a month ago. I pulled up next to his Jeep as he is filling out paperwork. Hey, Anon, how's the shift so far? A couple of idiot kids decided to drink out here. Some people were having sex, nothing too serious. So, about that incident that we had a month ago, I've been really trying to figure it out, and it just keeps on confusing me. You never exactly told me what it was, or why you had me lock my truck and grab a shotgun. He clicks his pen, putting it back in his pocket, and he closes his citation book. Well, it's not something that you need to know about. It would be in your best interests to keep your nose clean of it from now on. Come on. Don't scare me with that G-Man secret agent bullshit. Just explain what you thought it was. He looks at me from just below the brim of his ball cap. It's something that's lived here long before I ever took this job. I used to live in this area, and at night, I would always hear my neighbors' voices calling my name, or a family dog barking when the dog was on my bed. Now I'm really interested. Dispatch interrupted us with a call about some kids shooting some animals, then another call about someone breaking their leg, then patrolling campgrounds and hiking trails. So that's all I got from him today, as we were not near each other for much of the day. But I will keep pestering him, and I will figure out the truth. Okay, so this is probably the scariest thing that ever happened to me. I was 14 years old. I was living overseas in Germany because of my dad's job. I was going to a shitty international school full of rich white European dudes who were pretentious as all hell. I was friends with most of the other Americans that went there. Fast forward to one day in summer. There were some big Occupy protests scheduled for that day. I am in the park with the American bros sitting on a bench. Suddenly, this German man comes over near us and starts talking really loudly. He has kind of a crazed look in his eye, and he is wearing overalls covered in paint. I can understand most of what he is saying to the other German people in the park. He's trying to get them to protest with him in front of the police station. I realize this guy is one of the Occupy protesters. I tell my friends that we should probably leave. I get up and start walking past him. The German guy hears us speaking English with American accents and starts yelling at us. We walk faster. He starts walking towards us. He's a pretty big dude. He's about 6'5". Suddenly, he just starts running after us. We freak the hell out. We start running through the small patch of woods just near the park. We can still hear him following us. We get separated from each other. I can't see anybody, but I can still hear the German guy grunting. I keep on running. I make it out of the woods to a path next to the highway. My friends come out a few seconds after me. I look around to see if he is still following us. It looks good, so we decide to go back to my house. We walk down the path and cross the highway on footbridge. We get to the other side of the bridge and just keep on walking. I look around to see if the guy has found us again. He is standing on the bridge, leaning on the railing, looking right at us. Fuck. We start running again. He follows. We run for a good 10 minutes before we finally lose him once again. We make it home okay. God knows what he would have done to us if he caught us. The picture on screen is the park. I like stories that include a little bit of folklore, so I will share one that's been passed down in my family. It's kinda gruesome, and the fact that it's being passed down at all has always struck me as bizarre. I'm part German on my dad's side. His family came to the US just before World War I broke out. This story is about one of my great-grandfathers. They claim that he saw the black dog in Germany twice. He saw it in the same place both times, at the edge of the woods by his house. The first time he sees it, someone died. The second time, someone else died. These were both very important people to him, family members and such, so he's really creeped out by this. Not long after, he comes to America seeking to make something of himself. He's a pretty great carpenter and gets a job doing that. He finds a good girl, settles down, he has a gaggle of kids. He opens up his own carpentry shop. Suddenly, one night, my grandpa has a dream about the black dog. As always, it's standing at the edge of the woods of his house in Germany. The next day, World War I breaks out. He tells his wife about his earlier experiences. He mentions the dream. They both decide that he's going to be a pacifist and not fight in the war. But not long after, he is found dead in the streets outside of his carpentry shop. He was seemingly strangled to death. The killer was never found. It was his wife's belief that he saw the black dog one last time.